Alright, so the term desktop replacement is thrown around quite a bit, but the main hurdle a laptop needs to clear to establish itself as a desktop replacement is not just high performance but sustained performance. So these two criteria need to be met. Now, I talked about this in my last video about the Lenovo Legion 5i Pro, which I labeled as a laptop with great performance as it delivered consistent results in one-off and throttle tests alike. But the Core i7 chip in that one wasn't the most powerful one out there, so you can't really call it a desktop replacement. But today we have the MSI Titan GT77 12UHS. If the name's too much of a mouthful for you, you can simply call it the MSI Titan. It comes powered by an Intel 12th Gen Core i9 12900HX processor, an NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti, and get this, 64GB DDR5 RAM and 4TB SSD. Now, cooling all these components requires a powerful set of fans, and make no mistake, this thing has them. Now, before we move on and take a look at its performance, let's first take a closer look at its design. You see, this laptop needs to be a desktop replacement, so its designers were under no constraints of making it thin and light or portable. In terms of thickness, the laptop is pretty chunky and even has a protruding rear area specifically to house air vents. Because of this, the overall footprints of the laptop is huge and thus it can't fit in any normal backpack. In terms of build quality, the deck is made out of premium quality plastic but has virtually no flex. But a little bit of flex is present on the display panel. However, the hinge on this laptop is pretty solid, which makes it easy to open and close its 17.3-inch display. Now, this device is bigger than a 17-inch laptop, but it still has a smaller display because a good chunk of its back area is occupied by these vents. And as we'll see later in this video, they do help in keeping the temperatures on this machine down. Now, this laptop also comes with MX Cherry mechanical keyboard. What that means is that the keys have a lot of travel, meaning there's a good amount of button press required for every key. Now, the keyboard does not exactly offer a very clicky sound, but instead leans towards more of a mechanical ting. I mean, take a listen. You can hear the mechanical tings every time you type. I personally have no issues with it, but if you are someone who wants a silent keyboard, maybe this isn't for you. Also, there's one small issue with the spacebar on this keyboard, especially while gaming, and it is most apparent if you are pressing the spacebar from the side. In this case, sometimes the key will feel stuck while typing and then immediately get double pressed when you put a bit pressure on it. Since this is an engineering sample, it could just be an issue with this unit, but I noticed this quite a bit while playing Doom Eternal, so I thought you should know. The design of a machine is only as good as its performance, and perform this thing does. Starting off with the Cinebench R23 multi-core test, the Intel Core i9 12900HX scored around 22,000. Compare it to a desktop level Core i9 12900K and you'll get a score of around 27,000, which is roughly 80% of the raw CPU power that you are getting in a laptop. What is further helping this laptop perform really well is its 64GB DDR5 memory running in quad channel mode, which is obviously a huge bump to its performance. Speaking further of its capabilities, the laptop is paired with an NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti with 16GB DDR6 VRAM. Now, VRAM is really mostly helpful in cases when you want to play games at a higher resolution or ultra settings or both. Thankfully, this laptop can do the latter because the display on this particular unit only supports 1080p resolution at 360Hz maximum refresh rate. But in case anybody wants to connect an external 1440p monitor, they can still do so, as the laptop will still be able to play games at that resolution. But if you are thinking of 4K gaming from this or from any other laptop, then I would advise against it, because not even the desktop level RTX 3090 Ti cannot play every game at 4K 60fps at ultra high settings. Since we are talking about the display, let me take you through its specs. Now, what we see here is an almost 17-inch FHD display with a maximum 360Hz refresh rate. The display is pretty bright as well and features 100% sRGB coverage and 78% DCI-P3 coverage. In terms of color accuracy, I would say that the display is not color accurate and is primarily meant for gaming only. Now, this laptop might seem an overkill and a power-hungry device in every aspect, but it is also pretty good in terms of efficiency. Put the machine in a super battery mode and you can expect a decent battery life out of this thing. Put it in gaming mode and you can extract around 170 watts from the GPU. Now, the 170 watt power consumption appears in bursts and on average you can expect the GPU to deliver close to 165 watt across the board. As its intended TGP of 175 watt, the RTX 3080 Ti mobile GPU is already at its maximum possible performance. As a result, getting somewhere between 165 to 170 watt consistently is a great deal for this laptop. Power generation also generates heat, and in terms of the CPU, the temperature reaches at its highest at 96 degrees under stress test. Meanwhile, the GPU reaches close to 80 degrees while under a stress benchmarks. All I can say here is that yes, the CPU does throttle a bit, but that's more of a limitation of the laptop as a form factor, and there really isn't much anyone can do anything about it. But the CPU does manage to deliver sustained performance figures, and in my opinion, that's more important. I also ran some games on this laptop to check its real-world performance, and if you are looking for a full gaming review of this machine, click on the link in the banner to watch the video on Score. Now, I first tested Doom Eternal, which is arguably a very easy game to run, and hence you can see the FPS is also super high. Moreover, the high refresh rate display is also pretty helpful here, considering that this game requires really high inputs from the player constantly all the time. Next up, I tested AC Valhalla. Over here, you can see that I was getting close to 100 FPS on average. But considering it's an open world game where the number of assets differ in each location, my guess is that one can achieve between 95 to 100 FPS in this game very easily. Lastly, I tested the Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition with ray tracing on, and the numbers that this laptop managed to score were pretty impressive as well. And I feel comfortable recommending this laptop to play games with ray tracing on at 1080p and high setting. Also, while gaming, the fans on this thing can get pretty loud, but thankfully the speakers on this thing are also pretty loud as well, so they sort of cancel each other out. Here's a small demonstration. However, if you are simply using the fans at full speed without blasting any music, it will sound something like this. Okay, before wrapping up, I want to touch on a few points very quickly. The webcam only supports 720p recording at 30 fps, which is kind of a bummer. The laptop also has a fingerprint reader, which isn't placed on the power button and is kind of placed away from the rest of the keyboard over here. I mean, this laptop has a lot of real estate, and MSI wanted to make use of all of it somehow. So to sum it all up, is the MSI Titan a powerful laptop? The answer is yes. Is it a desktop replacement? The answer is absolutely yes. But is it a super expensive device? Also, that is a yes. But for the price, you're also getting the performance. So the decision is yours. Thanks for watching this video and subscribe to Digit. My name is Yatnesh and I will see you guys next time.